What's up, guys? Dylan here, and today I want to ask you a question. Do you have a low time preference or a high time preference? So before I tell you what those are, as usual, smash the like button, crush it. I don't know. Poke the like button with your finger and subscribe, comment below what your thoughts are. So what is low time preference and what is high time preference? So I'm reading this book, and I'll put I actually don't know the book title off the top of my head. I downloaded it and I was like, this is cool. I'm going to start listening to it. And it just completely blanked on the title. I was listening to it while I was running up in the mountains. But basically, they talk about time preference. And low time preference versus high time preference is the difference that you place on your time in the present versus the time in the future. So the example given in the book is, say there's two people, John and Sarah. Okay, they're both fishermen, and they both can acquire 10 fish per 8 hours they fish. Well, John has a high time preference and Sarah has a low time preference. So John would rather spend his 8 hours fishing all day and catch 10 fish. Whereas Sarah realizes that she values her future time, and she starts building a fishing net so that she can catch more fish. And of course, it takes time. So she spends 4 hours building her fishing net, and then 4 hours catching fish. So she catches half as many fish as John. Okay, but then the next day she does 4 hours, and then another 4 hours building the fishing net, and then 4 hours fishing. John just fishes all day. So again, not as many fish as John. But once she finishes the fishing net, right, the fishing net allows her to catch twice as many fish. So now she has essentially increased, and I'm not describing this perfectly, but she's essentially increased the return on her time. In the beginning, she didn't get as much reward from it, but that added up, building that fishing net, then allowed her to catch more fish. And that's a simple example of someone who has high time preference versus low time preference, and how it applies to cryptocurrency, and how it applies to saving, how it applies to economies, and all that. So with crypto, what you may see, and I've talked about this before in videos, like having a long-term view versus a short-term view. And I actually was telling my little brother about this, about how I started when I first got into cryptos, how I thought about it, and how I'm more and more thinking about it as I've gotten more and more involved with it. Basically, I'm trying to adapt to more of a low time preference attitude and strategy. I'm trying to treat it as not how can I make as much money as fast as possible today, right? Although that would be good, right? But how can I invest in my future? How can I take money that I would spend on consumables, the present, right? Spend money, money that would go to buying $5 drip coffee at coffee shops, or money that would go to going out to the bars. Or recently I found out that a mountain bike I ordered isn't going to be here for another few months, so I'm probably going to get a refund on that, and take that money and invest it, because I'm missing a whole bunch of mountain bike season, and I'll just trail run instead. I'm gonna miss mountain biking, but instead of focusing on my present, I would rather take that money and invest it in my future, right? So how can I set my future self up? So that is living with more of a low time preference versus a high time preference. But there's a lot of people out there, and especially in cryptos, there's a lot of people who are looking at the day-to-day fluctuations and trying to trade all these fluctuations and getting in and out of currencies and try to make some fast cash. And then they take that money, right, from the assets that appreciated, and they take it out of the asset. So they no longer have the ability for that asset to appreciate, and they invest it in consumable things, which isn't, if you saw my video about why you should get paid in Bitcoin but never pay in Bitcoin, why you should never buy a Tesla with Bitcoin or any cryptos. Well, maybe not any cryptos, but at least Bitcoin. You should never buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, and you can't anymore. So Elon Musk did us all a favor. But lost my train of thought. But if you look at that and think about that, then you'll totally lost blank in my train of thought. I was talking about why you should never buy a Tesla with Bitcoin, because when you're taking your money and the value, the investment out of an appreciating asset, which crypto has been, and not all cryptos, right? There's some with a lot more risk. There's a little more upside, but there's a lot more risk to it compared to Bitcoin. When you take it out of that appreciating asset and put it in a depreciating asset, you're exercising a high time preference. So you're investing in your present versus investing in your future, right? Buying a new car is investing in your present versus investing in your future, because as soon as you drive that new car off the lot, it loses thousands of dollars worth of value, depending on the car. Right? Cars are one of the worst assets to buy. They're not really an asset because they're more of a liability, because they constantly take money and then they're constantly losing value over time. So you put more money in and they lose value, versus an asset, you can put more money in and it grows. So thinking about this and with cryptos and all that, and the low time preference versus high time preference, it just had me thinking on my run, like, how can I exercise that more in my life, right? What things am I exercising a high time preference on versus a low time preference, and how can I adapt that? So essentially, how can I make life better for future Dylan? And so things that I've decided is, treating Bitcoin especially as like a savings account, right? If I have extra money, put it over there, right? It's extra, right? I'm saving it. And I'm not saving it for tomorrow. I'm saving it for later down the road, 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, 10 years down the road, right? And if you can think longer term, I'm saving this money for that future, right? It doesn't matter if the price fluctuates daily. It doesn't matter anything like that, because you're just putting it away and you're not worrying about it. You're just putting it away, not worrying about it, putting it away, not worrying about it. And then when you do that and you realize the value in that, and you start thinking, how can I save more, right? If you believe that Bitcoin is an appreciating asset, if you believe cryptos, other cryptos as well, but I think Bitcoin is one of the best and has the most solid foundation, despite all the recent negative press. It's still the granddaddy crypto, right? Papa crypto, mama crypto, however you want to call it, right? It's still the top. And so it's like, how can you take and start shifting your high time preference actions and values to low time preference activities and values, right? I was thinking about this, looking for getting a new car. It's like, should I go get a new car? Should I buy it just like the mountain bike? Should I go spend money now to get a new car? And it's like, well, my car now works just fine, right? And I can get around just fine in it. Why would I go and invest money into a depreciating asset when I can save that money in an appreciating asset that will be better off next year, the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, right? And so exercising that thought process. It's like, why should I go buy coffee from the coffee store when I can, go and make it at home for much cheaper, and that extra money I can then save, right? And I can save in an asset that grows. And studying people that I still have a long way to go in my wealth journey, and hopefully you're along for the ride as well. But studying people that are very successful, that have made a lot more money than I ever have, and have a lot smarter and a lot more strategic. That's what they do, right? They don't just waste their money. They don't just blow their money on a bunch of consumables, right? They save and invest their money. They put their money to work for them. And by that, I mean they put their money in things that have the potential to grow, right? To grow their money, to grow their wealth, so that the amount they earn isn't tied to their time. So they're fully uncoupling themselves from that high time preference. They're no longer like John, who, in order to sustain himself each and every single day, because he values the present so much, he has to fish 8 hours a day. So he's never going to build that fishing net. He's never going to build that fishing boat. He's never going to build that fishing business that can run without him and sustain him, right? On the other hand, Sarah, they become like Sarah, where Sarah's like, well, I like fishing, but I would much prefer to have variety. I much prefer to have the fishing just done for me. Like, how can I build a system where that supplies me with fish and produces even extra that I can then grow, right? I can invest in other things. I can pursue other opportunities. And so she makes that net, she makes that fishing boat, and she builds that fishing company, and that then produces without her having to spend her time on it, right? Because she had that low time preference. So, side note, I know, just on the sustainability, because we mentioned that with Bitcoin, that I know fishing, the sustainability in that issue. This is not trying to be like a green environmental post, but just fishing industry, I wish it was more sustainable. I wish there's a lot more sustainable things, and so perhaps Sarah built her fishing business in a sustainable manner, not contributing to overfishing. So let's say she did that. Or, in the beginning, maybe she didn't, but then she learned that she needed to make it sustainable. And because she has the extra profits from her business, she's able to reinvest into the sustainability of the industry. And, despite her growing pains at the beginning and slightly less sustainable initial practices, she's corrected them and more than made up for them. So let's say she does that with her business, which is very similar to what potentially could happen with Bitcoin and its high energy consumption and all that. So that's it for today, describing low time preference versus high time preference and how it relates to crypto, decision making, thinking about, things to think about is like, what consumables are you buying? Do you really need that new thing? And is the thing you're buying a depreciating asset or is it an appreciating asset? Is it going to bring you value just today, or is it going to start bringing you value today, in your future, right? It's the same thing with healthy eating, right? If you have a low time or high time preference, you're going to eat those pizzas. You're going to drink all the alcohol. You're going to be unhealthy. You're not going to work out, right? But if you have a low time preference, you're going to make the sacrifices today to benefit yourself in the future, right? So it's up to you to make those decisions and determine what you value and what you don't. But I thought that was really interesting. That was a great way to put a thought process I've had in my mind before. And it was actually a thought process that got me started on my crypto journey. So I won't tell that story today. I'll save that for another video. So hopefully you found this valuable. Let me know in the comments below what you think, if you have a high time preference or a low time preference. Let me think if you thought about this before. Tell me more about what you think about cryptos. What do you think about the future there? Do you think Bitcoin is going to keep going up, or do you think it's in serious trouble? So that's it for today. As always, like, subscribe, comment below. And if you want to learn more about this stuff, you want to learn more about the entrepreneurship opportunities, if you want to be more like Sarah, where you can create systems and make those systems where you can start to make them, allow you to build more wealth, right? Reach more people and make them scalable, and uncouple your, stop working for dollars for hours, stop trading dollars for hours, but actually start building something that can make money while you sleep, right? A business entity that runs, right? That will supply you not just, more than an investment, something you can control, you can manage, you can grow, you can make it the way you like it. Join my Patreon, because I have a lot more entrepreneurial content stuff coming up there, working with a lot of people in the crypto industry, starting their businesses and teaching them how to grow and scale their businesses without requiring them to spend all their time just to make money. So freeing themselves from that, the shackles of that high time preference. So that's it. Take care. Let me know what you think. All right. Peace.